Hello, I'm Full Paragon, and this is your guide to Super Skills version 2. So, what is Super 2? Like Super 1.5, it is unlocked through the Trial of the Ancients and is a new super that your character can use, and you can choose which super you want to use during the party creation screen. However, unlike Super 1 and Super 1.5, this is an entirely different super. It has a different graphic, and it often has entirely different effects or damage type. It is also not upgraded through affinity. While it does require some level of affinity to unlock, it is instead upgraded by a new resource called B stones, or DNA stones, because they have that little spiral helix in them. It is also massively expensive to unlock and upgrade, on the level of personal weapons, if not even slower and more expensive. Some new supers are also absolutely broken for certain characters. Others are completely snoozeworthy. It's also really pointless to unlock these piecemeal. Unlike personal weapons, there is no stat bonus with this. All you're getting is the new super. So it makes sense to unlock one fully before moving on. And, just like Super 1.5's, collab characters do not get a new ult. Here, you can see the costs for unlocking a new super. As with personal weapons, it is very expensive and requires similar kinds of ults, except instead of cat tablets, we have those beast stones. The total cost for unlocking a super will be 2.75 million Eris, 1,250 ancient coins, 120 of your rare basic trial material, 600 power potions, 20 chalices, 125 ancient trial mats, and a whopping 38 beast stones. Since these take a great deal of time to acquire, this means that you will probably spend at least a month unlocking a new super. Although, you can work on multiples at the same time. Since there are 3 different colors of beast stones, you're able to work on multiple characters, each from a different color. Again, don't try and unlock multiple characters that share the same color of beast stone. Here is a quick and easy visual reference for the 3 different kinds of beast stones: green, azure, and amber, which aren't the most creative names, but they do get the job done. Characters who use green beast stones are Kazuma, Iris, Arue, Rin, Cielo, Mia, and Amy. For blue characters, we have Aqua, Megumin, Chris, Komekko, who's not out yet, Cecily, Leah, and Melissa. And finally, for the amber beast stones, we have Darkness, Wiz, Yunyun, Mitsubishi, and Dust. These stones will be acquired at similar rates, so again, you can work on one character from each line of stones at the same time. However, it's extremely expensive and could take up to a month or more just to fully unlock a super line. To go in more depth for each Alt 2, I'll go through each character one at a time, starting with Kazuma. Kazuma's new super is Snipe. It deals 300% normal physical damage to one enemy and provides a tier 3 agility debuff that lasts for 12 seconds. This ultimate also charges quickly, taking only 80% ult gauge to fill. This is a grade S ultimate. It is universally Kazuma's best ultimate. It's exactly what he both wanted and needed. It gives him both some much needed utility, DPS, and a role on the team, unlike his previous ultimate. If you use Kazuma, you are going to need to use this ult on him. Next up, we have Aqua, who uses Sacred Create Water. It deals 222% AoE water magic damage, and it provides a tier 3 physical defense debuff that lasts for 12 seconds, along with a 10-second heal over time. And of course, toads don't mind getting wet, so this doesn't do anything to them. The grade here is a B for now. Later on, this is going to be mandatory for the best unit in the game, which is Godqua, but she won't be here for at least 3 months, coming out during the first anniversary in August. Until then, this could have some use, but most of the time, you would rather use Aqua's Alt 1.5. You will want this ultimate, just not right away. And now, the Megumin, featuring Railgun. This ultimate deals an absolutely bonkers 666% fire magic damage to a single enemy and is guaranteed to deal a critical hit. However, it does take 180% to charge, which is even more than her ult 1.5. Also after using the Railgun, Megumin's faints for reasons. The grade is A. This will absolutely dominate Fire Arena. From here on out, Fire Arena is effectively going to be Railgun Arena. Remember when half your score was dictated by Megumin using her ultimate and getting a crit? Well, now you can guarantee that crit, and this hits even harder than her standard explosion. It's not going to be to the point where you just can't rank without using this ultimate, but this makes things so much easier because you can promise a crit. It does have slightly lower damage than her ult 1.5 if that crits, but this takes the guesswork out of the equation, and for that reason, from now on, Fire Arena is pretty much going to be the Railgun meme fest. Even if it makes absolutely no sense for Megumin to use anything other than superior explosion magic. Alright, now we have Darkness's true ultimate, Mask Power. This will deal 396% single target normal physical damage, and it applies a self tier 4 physical attack and agility buff that lasts for 14 seconds, and it only takes 80% ult gauge to fill, and while under the effects of the mask, Darkness can hit things. The grade, however, is only a B. Even though it has some massively OP effects, from dealing a huge amount of damage to providing absolutely insane buffs, the fact of the matter is Darkness doesn't have any cards right now that can make effective use of this. Even Danmachi Darkness isn't really going to be able to fully utilize the mask's power. For that, we really need Anniversary Darkness. From there on out, there will be other Darknesses who can make excellent use of mask power, but again, that's 3 months off, so you don't need to prioritize mask power straight away. For Chris, her new ultimate is Cross Hurricane. It deals 222% AoE wind physical damage and provides a tier 3 physical attack buff to the team that lasts for 16 seconds. This is a grade A ult. It is versatile and it is good. While Wire Tornado is a pretty great ult, this is also a good option. In Wind Arena, this will push OG Chris to the top of the meta once Eyes comes out, though Eyes also does an attack buff. It's definitely worth unlocking. However, keep in mind it's competing with ults like Railgun and Sacred Create Water, so even though this is really awesome on Chris, you might not want to get it first. And of course, we have Wiz with Cursed Petrification, which deals 338% earth damage to one enemy. The grade here is a C, because there is no Earth Wiz right now. Because there's no Earth Wiz, and getting an Earth Wiz doesn't look like it's going to happen anywhere in the near future, there's not a Wiz who can make good use of this ult, and it's a bad pick now. Eventually it could get good, but they need to release Cosina Wiz first, and we also need to be in a place where Earth Mages are competitive and viable, which we're definitely not. You can hold off on this ult for quite a while. Yunyun's new ultimate is Lightning Strike, which deals 338% single target lightning magic damage. The grade here is a B. It's awesome, but only in one arena. This is a huge nuke, but it only works in Lightning Arena, and Lightning Mages are a tad weak at the moment. You could use her with El Cielo and have her be an attack buffer to let Yunyun go ham. Still, Lightning Physical is pretty strong, so this isn't a major priority right at the moment. The main reason to unlock this now is because since Yunyun uses Amber Beast Stones, there's not a lot of competition right there. Iris's new ultimate is Sacred Explosion, which Megumin wants to remind you is not the same as real explosion magic and is clearly inferior. This deals 396% single target normal damage. This gets a B grade. It's good, but it's not a priority. It is more damage than Iris's original ult, as long as we're not talking about Light Arena, where her original ult will remain superior. However, Iris is usually used in the rear 5 slot, and a lot of the time, she's not out long enough to ever get an ult off, which means even if you did unlock this, there's very rare occasions where you're ever going to be getting a lot of use out of this. Because of this, I'm not saying that Iris's ult is a high priority. Don't get me wrong, It is good, but just due to the nature of how Iris plays, and the fact that Light Arena you will want to use her original ult, this gets a lower grade. Briefly, I'm going to touch on Komekko. She's not out yet, and we don't know when she will be out, but when she does come out, her ult 2 is better than her original ult, mostly because her original ult deals typeless damage and is therefore hot garbage. Her new ult Inferno, which isn't really new because it will come out before we get Komekko, it gets an A for her because it is her best ult. But obviously, you don't need to worry about that right now. Alright, we have Cecily, whose new ult is Axis Gospel. It deals 295% single target water physical damage, and it applies a tier 3 magic attack debuff, and then it gives a medium team heal. This gets a D. Why does Cecily have physical damage ults? Plus, her water card isn't even that good. You're not using Valentine Cecily. No, don't bother. As for Arue, continuing the tradition of mages, her ult deals 338% single target light magic damage. This gets a B grade. It's excellent, but again, only in one arena. It's extremely strong in light arena, to the point that if you run light mages, you need this ult for Arue. However, because it's just one arena, you do need to carefully evaluate if you want to focus on light arena, or if you want to use those stones on other adventurers who are strong in their individual arenas, or more broadly. Only get this one if you have RP Arue and your goal is to maximize your score in light arena. Alright, Musubi's new ult is Rune of Saber, which deals 222% AoE lightning physical damage and gives a tier 3 buff to self-physical attack and defense. This is C tier, his original is just straight up better. The problem with the buff is that it is selfish, and the reason that Mitsu has become good is specifically because he can buff and heal his team using his ult 1.5. Sure, this is more damage in Lightning Arena, if someone else is giving out that attack buff. But the vast majority of the time, you just want to use ult 1.5, not this. Even in Lightning Arena, this is often not as good as his original ult, so don't bother getting it. Dust's new ult takes him head first, which appears to have caused some brain damage. This deals 309% single target when physical damage and has a tier 3 self-physical attack buff. The grade is a C tier, mostly because you would have to use Dust. On the surface, this isn't that bad, especially compared to Dust's original very lackluster ult. But the problem is you would have to use Onsen Dust, and Onsen Dust is just hot garbage with an affliction kiff. There is no reason to spend stones on Dust over another adventurer. Last of the mages, we have Rin with Dark Detonation, which deals 338% single target magic damage. Again, this is a B tier. It's extremely good in one arena. We got this ult right as we got Dark Rin, who's going to be better than the 4-star Ninja Rin that will come eventually. Frankly, this elevates her to the point where it's almost mandatory for those top ranks. You won't always want to run this over her first ult, because her first ult is so great with that tier 3 attack buff and tier 2 self-agility buff, but Dark Rin has the perfect kit to make this extremely good, as she can give herself a tier 2 agility buff with her regular abilities. This is always going to be her best ultimate in Dark Arena, but it is just that one element. Elsewhere, you'll prefer her original ult. Next up, we have Leah with Water Rhapsody. It deals 222% AoE water physical damage, has a team heal, and a 6-second cooldown cut. This gets a B grade again. It's okay. The issue isn't that this ult isn't good. It is, even outside of water. It's that Leah's original ult 1.5 is just so darn good with that tier 2 agility buff and damage cut. It's hard to recommend that you go ham after this ult when at least half the time her first one is better, and the other half, this one's only better by a very slight margin. Perhaps if there was a really great water Leah and water physical was better, I would recommend this more highly, but right now it's not a priority, though you will want it eventually. For Cielo, her new ult is Wind Rondo. It deals 266% single target wind magic damage, has a small team heal, and a tier 2 damage cut. This is a A-grade ult and is absolutely needed for some content. You are going to need this ult for dungeons and for some EX arenas because of just how much defense it provides for your team. It's also incredible in Wind Arena and will make OG Cielo more or less usable again. However, the main problem is it's so hard to pick between this and Cielo's original ult because they're both so fantastic. This one has more damage reduction, but the first has that huge attack buff and healing. It's tough to pick, and even worse, you also have to choose between Cielo and Kazuma's snipe, so think about it carefully. Last of the Axel Hearts, we have Erika, who uses Flaming Serenade. It deals 202% AoE fire physical damage, and has 30% ult gauge charge on it. This gets a B grade. It's good, but it's overshadowed. The main issue is that fire is Christmas Wiz's playground. If you don't have Wizmas, this isn't a bad pick, especially if you can have someone else who can provide a tier 3 physical attack buff for a fire team. However, that team is still strictly worse than one using Wizmas as their gauge fill source instead, so that makes this less appealing to go after quickly. The new ultimate that Melissa gets is Phantom Assault. It deals 232% AoE dark physical damage and has a medium team heal. This gets a D grade. The sins of triple daggers continue. Again, this is a horrible trial for Mel. It's not quite as bad as her personal weapon, but it seems they don't ever want to give Melissa any new toys. Her original ultimate continues to be her best one, and you won't ever want this. Mia gets the Melon Bomber ultimate, which deals 309% single target normal physical damage, and provides a tier 3 physical attack and defense buff for your team that lasts for 12 seconds. This gets a B grade, not because it's bad, it's really great, but because there aren't any good Mia cards. At some point Mia does get good cards, and this is a fantastic ult for her. It will probably be better than her first ultimate in most cases. The issue is that we don't have those cards yet, so you need to wait until we do before this ult is appealing. Amy's new ultimate is Breath of the Land. It deals 222% AoE earth magic damage and has a 10-second heal over time. This gets a D grade. No, don't bother. Maybe if Earth Amy was good. Maybe if her first ult wasn't already one of the best ones. Maybe if the damage was higher. But none of that is true, so don't bother. Just use your first ult instead. Okay, before we take a look at the tier list, my advice. Save up and unlock ults all at once instead of doing so slowly. So in other words, wait until you have enough beast stones to upgrade an ult fully before you unlock them. A tier 1 new ult just isn't worth getting. The low investment ult 2s aren't going to stack up to a fully invested ult 1. So if you have a character at 30 affinity and you're using an ult 1 on them, it's going to be better than their ult 2 in almost all cases if you haven't fully upgraded that ult 2. The exception is Kazuma. He does compete with Cielo, but Snipe is just always his best ult, mostly because double drain touch is garbage no matter which version you choose. I will say that you will really want Cielo's new ult for dungeons because that damage cut is going to be invaluable in that survival mode, but Kazuma really has to have Snipe to be worth using at all. Railgun is OP, but so is Sacred Create Water, at least once we get Godqua. Be careful and invest your blue stones wisely. Darkness also needs the mask to work when we get her new cards, but she's bad right now, so it's not a high priority. And remember, collab characters don't get a second ult or even an ult 1.5. They can only use their original ult. Alright, here is my priority rankings for now. I went ahead and put Snipe for Kazuma all the way up at the top. Balzuma is absolutely going to be meta for Earth Arena at this point, and even RP Kazuma is strong enough to see use in Light once we get Light Aqua from Danmachi. The other extremely valuable ults right now are Railgun and Cielo's ult. I know that I ranked Chris's ult pretty highly, but the fact of the matter is, at least in the immediate moment, she can get by without it. And even in Wind Arena, Eyes is the one who can provide a tier 3 attack buff, so we can forgo Chris's ultimate for at least a little while. I would go ahead and unlock other things first. Later on, I would get Sacred Create Water and the Mask as soon as possible. Both Legendary Aqua and Legendary Darkness will come at Anniversary, and they need those alts to function properly. If you don't have them, the characters just aren't nearly as good. So make sure you get them as soon as you have finished Railgun, in the case of the blue stones, and for Darkness, maybe get that first, or get Yunyun's ult first instead. That lightning is very powerful, and if you're running lightning mages, you pretty much need it. For the rest of the B tier characters, pick and choose based on who you have and who you like to use in Arena. For the weak ones, I wouldn't bother getting them now or at all. The only one in C tier that might eventually be worth it is Wiz's ult, but that's a really long time off, so don't even begin to make that a priority. I would not ever bother with Cecily's ult or Melissa's ult. They're just not very good. Unless you have tons of stones lying around, don't worry about them. The unreleased ults down at the bottom, in order, are Mel or Meru's ult, which is that annoying lightning sprite we've been fighting in story mode, Vanier's Cursed Demon Ray ult, and Komekko's Infernal ult. Komekko will actually come out first, probably followed by Meru, then Vanier. But I wouldn't expect to see there until either right before or right after our anniversary, so that's a ways off. Alright, that's the video. Thanks for watching. I need a nap now because I have been working non-stop on this video since Super 2s were released, and I have put in quite a bit of effort. Hopefully the results were satisfactory, and I will do my best to get out a new guide for the arena when it releases, but we shall see. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoy your new Super 2s and Konosuba Fantastic Days.